And we're back. And this weekend, so was British Superbikes. And as ever, it was an absolute belter. This weekend saw round 6 of the Bennett's British Superbike Championship head to Hampshire, the Thruxton, which is dubbed as the fastest circuit in the UK. And as ever with British Superbikes at Thruxton, it was an absolute doozy.
It was Kyle Ryde, the reigning champion, on pole as the lights went out at Thruxton for race 1, but the championship leader Brad Ray soon got to the head of the field, but was challenged by former champion Tommy Bridewell. Thruxton always delivers in the superbike class, and today was no different. A sunny afternoon at Thruxton saw 2 Hondas at the front with Bridewell and Nesbitt. Brad Ray then dropped down a few places and was getting beaten up on the approach to the chicane, which was full of lime green Kawasaki's of number 30 Max Cook. Loved this wide sweeping bold move into Church Corner, and his teammate number 21 Christian Idden also in the mix. Nesbitt then took a turn to lead as Kyle Ryde started to get his gloves off. A big moment, one of many for Max Cook, as his front tyre touched the rear of Nesbitt. He then fought back, as did Danny Kent. Brad Ray couldn't ever really get himself into the fight for the podium at any stage. The move on Charlie Nesbitt came down into the complex as the McCann's Yamaha rider Danny Kent then led, looking for his first win of the season. Nesbitt losing out on second also at this stage, as it was now a Yamaha 1-2 with Danny Kent and Kyle Ryde in P1 and P2. Then Christian Idden went through on Nesbitt, and likewise Cook. Kawasaki's at this point in third and fourth. Idden then took a turn of leading himself on the approach to the chicane. Max Cook, his teammate, was in on the action to then make it an AGN Kawasaki 1-2. Still plenty of laps to go at this stage. Haslam pushed wide at the chicane, and ultimately he would get a penalty for not having lost enough time. Cook then led, but was passed by Kyle Ryde, and Kyle then decided to pull the pin with 6 laps to go. A move from Danny Kent on Christian Idden nerfed him wide somewhat. Max Cook then made some big moments to try and fight his way for the win, but it wasn't to be. Tyres spinning, Kyle Ryde was victorious ahead of Danny Kent with Max Cook in third. Max Cook was on pole position for the BSB sprint race on Sunday at a packed crowd at Thruxton, and got the whole shot as the lights went out for a 12-lap race. However, there was a bit of an incident early on. Contact between Bridewell and Fraser Rogers as the battle raged on. Kent at the front at this stage with Kyle Ryde in the mix with the 2 Kawasaki's. And after a disappointing 8th yesterday, Brad Ray looked in fine form once more with plenty of speed. Leon Haslam at this stage also there. However, an incident here between Baker and Webb saw the red flags come out. A restart over 8 laps from the new grid positions. Christian Idden was the early leader on the AJN steel stock Kawasaki, but the Yamahas were coming. Kyle Ryde, the reigning champion and current championship leader Brad Ray, tussling at this stage for the race wins. But then came Danny Kent, and he was picking them off one by one. A lovely move here from Idden on Ray on the approach to Church Corner. Leon Haslam and Max Cook were there to pick up the pieces if it went wrong as well. We did wonder if Kyle Ryde would bolt away at this stage, but as it always is at Thruxton, it wasn't to be. Brad Ray really favours that move from Campbell into Cobb and managed to get himself back up into P2. Contact between Danny Kent and Idden. They were both really lucky to stay on and not run too wide into the chicane at this point. As the laps ticked down, it was all about the Yamahas. Brad Ray pulled off this move on Kyle Ryde. Same again to go into P1. However, the door was opened on the approach down into the chicane. Danny Kent making his move up into second spot. And the door was left open by the championship leader here to allow Danny Kent to come through. And as they flicked left and then right again, Brad Ray was demoted to third spot on the final lap. Christian Idden still there in fourth place, but ultimately it would be the first win of the season for Danny Kent. He takes it ahead of Ryde and Ray. Brad Ray was on pole after 2 thrillers at Thruxton. What would be in store for race 3? The Raceway's Yamaha rider got the whole shot into turn 1. But a lightning start from Christian Idden put him up into P2 on his Kawasaki with Kyle Ryde third. There was incidents between Cook and Irwin, who got locked up. And then a nice move from Danny Kent on Kyle Ryde to move himself up into third spot. Charlie Nesbitt also in the picture at this particular point in fifth. A nice move there from Ryde to move up a spot ahead, and then they all started to gang up on Brad Ray out front, and Christian Idden took a turn at leading. A nice move through the club chicane in the early stages. As the laps ticked by though, they all decided to engage. Charlie Nesbitt here, an audacious attempt up the inside, which he managed to pull off into Church Corner. Scott Redding was also in on the action, as well as the two Hondas of Bridewell and Andy Irwin. This move here though really cost Kyle Ryde. Danny Kent running wide, but then on the overtake that meant Kyle Ryde had to go over the curbs and lost a number of places. He did force his way back through, up into fourth though, going past Scott Redding, but he wasn't able ultimately to get in on the action in the ultimate fight for the race win, which went all the way to the last lap. Danny Kent had gone through on Christian Idden to move up into second place, and it was all left to the last lap of the race to see if the McCann's Yamaha rider could poach the win off Brad Ray. Tyres screaming for grip there for Charlie Nesbitt. A lovely move though from Danny Kent on Kyle Ryde, put him into P1. Brad Ray didn't respond on the final lap, but just went in too deep, allowing Kent back through on the cutback. The checkered flag was out, and it was double delight for Danny Kent, who won race 3 here at Thruxton ahead of Brad Ray and Christian Idden.
An unbelievable weekend of racing there, as ever, from British Superbikes and the fastest UK circuit down in Hampshire at Thruxton. What I always find unbelievable with Thruxton racing is that it's almost reminiscent of a Moto3 race, only we're on 1000cc bikes with 230 brake horsepower. One big line of bikes there, all just bobbing and weaving, looking for the slipstream. Tyre degradation being at the forefront of everybody's mind. Who can make that tyre last the longest? And we see there Danny Kent proving just why he deserves a place on that grid. And of course Thruxton takes us just over the halfway point of the championship with still 5 rounds left to go. And I think if the first 6 rounds have proved anything, it is just why British Superbike is the best domestic championship in the world. Round 7 sees British Superbikes land at Cadwell Park. That'll be on the 23rd to the 25th of August. Now, I for one cannot wait for BSB to be back. For me, it is far beyond anything that MotoGP produces, and it is also topping World Superbike at the moment. So I cannot wait. Hopefully see you there, and I'll catch you in the next one.